Hello, Richardson ISD. Today, I am with our Executive Director for Athletics, Leslie Slovak, and she's going to talk with me about what parents can expect this fall and everything else to do with athletics. So, Leslie, will you just introduce yourself and give a little background for our audience?
Okay, thank you. Hi, yes, my name is Leslie Slovak. I am the Executive Director of Athletics, and I'm excited to talk today about just some of our challenges that we have as we deal with this pandemic with COVID and how it impacts just our athletes, our coaches, our season tickets, what it's going to be like to be a fan, to come to a game. So I'm excited to share that information. And I'm really excited that we're able to have coaches and kids back together. I think that's just exciting because coaches need kids and kids need coaches, and we're going to do it safely. And our number one priority is the health and safety of our athletes.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. So now we're shifting from strength and conditioning to actually real games. Can you talk about some of the risk mitigation protocols that you're using in practices?
Yes, so as we make that transition, we continue to do many of the things we were doing in strength and conditioning. So there's a carryover. So for those kids that were participating, they're going to be really, really good role models for us. So some of those things consist of just wearing your mask, number one. When you're not actively exercising, you'll see our athletes in their mask. You will see coaches always in a mask. And that's just something that's going to be so important that, you know, our athletes are just in that routine that when they're actively exercising, they may have their mask off, they're playing in the game, the mask is off. And then when they're on the sideline, they're on the bench, they're waiting, maybe transitioning from a locker room to a gym and walking through a hallway to get to athletics, they're going to have their mask on. We're going to make sure that we're practicing social distancing when possible. We're also not going to share water. That's real important. We're not going to share water bottles. We're going to encourage every athlete needs to have a personal water bottle. So we're really watching that and very careful about how we're handing out water and making sure that we're not sharing. And so those things are going to be really important as we transition, you know, from strength and conditioning into the regular season. So it's very, very similar. I think that what we see is we have more athletes back on campus, so more reminders. I'm excited that we have new signage going up in around the locker rooms, around the stadiums, around the gym area. So I think we've got some really good reminders for our athletes as well.
So now that our junior high and high school are returning to in-person, that means that they'll be using our locker rooms. What are some of the protocols that are going to be in place to mitigate risks?
Okay, some of our protocols will be, it's very different, you know, now. In the past, when practice was over or a game was over, you would send an entire team into a locker room. So the difference is that we will send teams in waves or groups. And for instance, if we have two athletes in a locker side by side, we're not going to send them into the locker room at the same time. We just want to see if we can do the best to maintain that social distancing even in a locker room. So we're going to stagger that. And so that means that we may have to end practices a little bit earlier because we've got to take more time. It's going to take more time to transition from practice to locker room to outside the locker room to getting to class, especially for our in-person learners. And then we've got to be sensitive to the fact that our virtual learners need time to get back home for virtual learning. So I'm really proud of our coaches. There's a lot of logistics, a lot of planning, and kids will be in groups as they are released to go into the locker room. Also, the disinfecting of the locker room is so important. We just so appreciative of our custodial staff who is constantly cleaning. Also, it's not just for the locker rooms. Our kids are even taking an active role in helping with disinfecting weight equipment as soon as they finish touching it. Our kids and coaches are helping disinfect volleyballs, footballs. So the cleaning aspect and sanitizing is a high priority and one that we continue not only in the locker room, but even outside the locker room, in the gym area, natatoriums, track and field, stadiums, just anywhere where our athletes will be. We've got to make sure that we're keeping everything clean and it's done, you know, right after a practice or right after a game.
So with volleyball games starting this week and football games next week, and of course we know that we're still under the governor's order to limit capacity at games. So I have some questions for you to help our community know what's going to happen on game days. So let's start with mask and social distancing. So we have a universal mask requirement in Richardson ISD, and this is supported by the current governor's order. What will the expectation be for any games hosted in or outside of RISD?
Okay, that's a great question. And our expectation is going to be that anyone that enters our facility to watch our games is going to be that they need to have a mask on. That's just really plain and simple. We really need your help. This needs to be a community effort. Our coaches will model that. Our staff, the ushers, a stadium manager, gym manager, myself, anybody working the game will model that. We will have our mask on at all times. So the expectation for a fan is that you will self-screen and make sure that you do not have any of the COVID symptoms before you enter. We will have those posted outside all athletic facilities. And after you self-screen and you will enter with a mask on. And we ask that you social distance. And so we're going to have reminders. It's going to be very obvious that we're going to skip every other bleacher, and there will be yellow caution tape and signage and staff reminding everyone, please don't sit on the yellow caution tape because we need to skip every other row to practice social distancing. The only time you will see people or should see people sitting right next to each other would be same household. So if you live in the same household, there's an exception, but we ask that the community really work with us and let's stay safe, keep the virus out of our schools, keep it out of our stadiums, out of our gyms, out of our facilities. And that's just going to be a group effort. But there's two things that are so important. It's the mask and then really practicing the social distancing. And I feel like we've done a really good job with visual reminders, but we'll also have a lot of people with verbal reminders. So to stay and watch the game, the athletic event, we're going to need you to comply with those. And we just want to thank you in advance, for doing that.
Yeah, and I join with you in really thanking our parents in advance and really asking that they'll help us by modeling that for our students. So I know that our families are anxious and they really want to know how they'll be able to watch the games, their players, cheerleaders, band, etc. Perform. So can you share with us how tickets will be sold this year, and can I buy game day tickets?
Okay, and that is a great question. And we're going to have all this information on the athletic website on the RSD homepage. But tickets this year are going to look different, just like everything is different. And so we ask that, please be patient with us and understand that our number one priority is to take care of the families of the participants. So if you are a drill team member, band, bell guard, and if you are a cheerleader, if you are playing in the game or at the athletic event, then you're a participant. And so participants' families will get first priority. And we're going to do a tier. So that's tier 1. And you will be given a code in a certain day where you can buy tickets. And then the second tier would be the student body. And the student body would have an opportunity. And then the third tier, if tickets are left, the third tier would be the general public. So we just ask for your patience and know that these are challenging times, but our number one priority is to take care of participants' families. And the links to buy ticket, the codes, all of that will be sent out from your coaches or your directors or your sponsors, but it will also be, on the website. And so that's just something that's going to be new and different. We're not going to be able to sell tickets at the gate. We are limiting the amount of paper and money that's exchanged. We feel like that is a recommendation from the CDC that we really need to take seriously. So there's not paper tickets, there's not cash at the ticket booth. So on game day, it depends on the game, it depends on the level, it depends on the venue. We have different capacity levels for different venues. A junior high gym can't hold near as many kids or fans as a stadium. And so we have some limitations. So there will be some games where tickets may not be available on game day. And we apologize in advance for that, but we have to be at that 50% capacity, which ends up being less than 50% because we skip every other row. So ticket procedures, like I said, we'll make sure that we have those on the website, and you will have an opportunity to look over those and then see, do you fall in that tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3? And just ask that you really just understand and see the big picture that we're in challenging times and we're doing the best we can to get families into our events first and then we'll try to take care of students and the general public.
So what if somebody has a really big family, and of course we have a lot of fans out there that may not fall into one of those categories. Is there any other way that they can watch our games?
Yes, we're excited to partner with NFHS, and so we will be able to live stream any event that takes place in one of our 4 high school main gyms, or if it takes place in one of our 2 large stadiums. That information will also be on the website. We will also be emailing that out to all different groups, but that will be a way that they can pay a subscription, and they can pay for one game, or they can do it for an entire month, or they can do it an entire season. And so we're excited to offer that, because we know that this is disappointing for many people that, okay, I can't bring my entire family. Also, we encourage you, if you're not going to use your tickets and you get 4 because you have a participant in the event, then there is a way, and those instructions will be online, how you can actually give your code, or you can give your tickets to someone else. But these tickets are all electronic, and it's going to be on your phone. So you will show your phone, or you would have to print that out and bring it to the facility. But we are trying to go paperless, so we encourage everyone just to show your phone, and that's where your ticket will be.
So we know that our elementary and our junior high kids love to attend our Friday night games as well. What will that look like this year?
Well, that's going to look different as well. And you know, we love having our younger kids. They're the foundation. We want them excited about growing up to attend that high school in their learning community. But we are still at this capacity rule that we have to follow. So junior high kids, elementary kids, and even high school kids, they're going to have to get their tickets within that tier system. And so, you know, once again, you know, if you have a participant, you're probably going to be able to get in that sibling, but the sibling's friends that want to come to the game, that's just not something that we're going to be able to take care of everyone this year. And that's just unfortunate. And I look forward to the day where we can go back and we'll get there, where we have elementary night and junior high nights, and we pack our stands with a lot of young kids. But this year, it's just going to look a little different, and those kids will have to fall into that tier system where we're taking care of families first.
What about concession stands? Will there be concession stands in our stadiums this year?
Yes, great question. We will have concession stands. It'll look a little different. You know, there will be packages of ketchup and packages of mustard instead of just a bottle sitting out. Anything that we can do to make it a little bit safer for the community. You will notice that we'll have the little circled dots that will ask you to stay 6 feet apart. So as you're standing at the concession stand waiting to order food, we just ask that you really honor that, much like we have to all do at the grocery store, and we're getting used to that. But the concession stands will be available. It may look a little bit different as far as what foods they offer, but we will be able to provide a concession stand at our games.
Let's talk about the class of 2021, and a big question our community and our seniors are asking. They're asking about senior night and homecoming celebrations. What will that look like this year?
Okay, that's a great question too. So for homecoming, as far as the stadium and what happens at the football game for a homecoming game, what we can do is we can still recognize a homecoming court. So that's something that's, I know, a tradition, and we want to recognize that homecoming court. We will even be able to make a special tier for that game and say, if you're in the homecoming court, you're going to get 3 tickets for that game. Let's say that you're already a band member, or if you're a football player, or you have anything to do with that game that night, and you're on the court, you already would be someone that would get 4 tickets. But someone that's on the homecoming court that's not an active participant in the game, they will get 3 tickets. So we're trying to take care best we can with the families, but just because it's homecoming, it doesn't mean that we get to sell more tickets. We're still at the same capacity level. So homecoming is not going to be a full stands with a bunch of alumni groups. We can't have the special event level because we cannot ensure social distancing on that special event level. So I apologize to our alumni who are so supportive, and we hope that next year we can go back to the way things were. But it's just going to be very limited. But the homecoming court is something that we can do. Senior night is something that we can still do. and we will communicate that through principals, through coaches, through our directors and head coaches. But it's just going to look a little bit different. And as far as homecoming goes at the campus level, I know that that will be some communication that the principals will get out to the student body about what we can and can't do maybe on the campus level. But as far as the stadiums, I am happy to say that we can at least do a homecoming court and still recognize and make that a fun event for our young kids.
And did you mention senior nights?
Yes, senior night, we will still recognize our seniors, and in every sport, any sport or organization that we hold, if they want to have a senior night, we're working with the coaches and with the sponsors and directors, and we will honor the seniors. Once again, we can't sell more tickets, but we will make sure that there's a tier where we really take care of those seniors and really be able to honor them, and we will communicate that as we get closer to those special nights.
Thank you. We want to do everything we can to make the class of 2021 have their special memories.
Yes.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about a different topic, cancellations. Recently, a high school announced a cancellation of a game because their opponents experienced an increase in positive cases. Can you share with us how we are monitoring positive cases of our opponents and the communication happening at this time between school districts?
Yes, you know, I'm in constant communication with all other athletic directors in our area. So we communicate weekly. We're constantly, I look at who we are scheduled to play, and we are checking in and seeing how things are going there and what's going on. And so there's constant communication. We have a protocol that we have just verbally agreed on that if we were to have to cancel because of a confirmed positive test, we would immediately notify that athletic director. Same thing, if we're supposed to go play someone and they have a confirmed positive case and it's going to impact us and they're going to say, you know what, we're going to have to cancel, we cannot play that game, then that communication is going to happen as soon as possible, because obviously the health and safety of our athletes and our fans, that's our number one priority. So there is that open line of communication between school districts, and I really appreciate that. And we're constantly looking at that and monitoring that, and we have a procedure in place for that.
So we've talked a lot on this video about safety and risk mitigation, but obviously I want to give a huge shout out to our amazing coaches. They work so hard. They are some of our greatest teachers, and certainly they're all great people, and I appreciate them so much. Will you just talk a little bit about the hard work of our coaches and athletes to be ready for this season?
Yes, I'm so proud of our coaches, because what a challenging time to be a coach and to be a teacher, and they're the heroes. You know, they're the ones that they're in the trenches. They're juggling the teaching responsibility and the coaching responsibility, and we have all these regulations and all these new guidelines that they have to follow, yet they're still preparing our kids to compete, and they're still trying to be competitive. And I'm just impressed with how creative they are. The fact that even with all the rules and regulations in place with social distancing and masks, what we can and can't do with water, even how it changes locker room procedures and how do we do treatment in the athletic training room, our kids are flexible and our kids have adapted because they want to play, they want to compete. So I'm really proud that our coaches, just the positive attitude of, once they hear from us, this is what you have to do to play. This is what you have to do to compete. And it's okay, we're going to do that, because they want to compete. They want our kids to have that experience, especially our seniors. So I'm just really proud that it's whatever we need to do to keep our kids safe, but to still be able to go out and play and compete and do it at a high level. And so we're ready to go. I think the protocols are in place, the guidelines are in place, our schedules are set, and now we're ready to compete, and it's here. And we're excited to get started this week.
So any final predictions about any championships this year? Give me any predictions you have about any of our seasons.
Okay, well, that is a great question. And I will say that I'm really excited about our realignment. When UIL realigns us every 2 years, they put us in a new district. And so I really look at our district, and we are going to have some challenging games in all sports. But I look at it and I honestly believe not only are we in the mix to make the playoffs in many of our sports, but I really feel like we're in the mix to win a district championship in multiple sports. And so I'm not going to go on record of saying who I think that will be, but I will say that we have multiple teams that could go out and fight for a district championship. And we have multiple teams that will represent us in the playoffs, not just in team sports, but in our individual sports as well. So just really excited for our kids. You know, they've been away from it for a while. And I just know that they need this, they need to connect and be a part of something. And just, I think that we sometimes take for granted something. It just gets to be just this regular routine of, you know, sports and athletics, and all of a sudden it was taken away for a little while. So our kids are motivated, our coaches are motivated, and they're ready to go out and compete. And I'm anxious to see how we do this year and feeling really good about it.
Well, thank you, Leslie, and thank you to your staff. Thank you to all of our coaches. We have made some really sometimes tough decisions, but I think we've made the right decisions, because I think that we've made them in the best interest of what is important to our students, and always keeping safety as our #1 priority. And so thank you to everybody for the work that they've done to make this athletic season possible. It's going to be a good one for our schools, and we hope that everyone will stay safe, model great behavior, model safety protocols, so that we can continue and have some great district championships that our kids can celebrate together. So thank you, Leslie, for your time today. I appreciate you.
Thank you.